Earlier today, a grand jury returned a 32-count indictment against the officers and paramedics involved in the death of Elijah McClain. Back in 2019, during an arrest, Aurora police had put the 23-year-old black man in a chokehold and injected him with ketamine, a sedative that led to his death. It definitely contributed to his death. Those charges, of course, come as a result of an investigation launched by Colorado Attorney General Bill Weiser. Earlier today, he had said that these Aurora police officers, two Aurora police officers, a former police officer, and two paramedics be charged or have been charged with each 1 count of manslaughter and 1 count each of criminally negligent homicide. 2 of the officers face additional assault and crime violence counts. 2 paramedics also face assault counts, in addition to counts of recklessly causing bodily injury with a deadly weapon, which would be the sedative ketamine. Now, for those of you, it's been a while since we've talked about this, but McClain was simply walking home from a convenience store wearing a ski mask because it was, that's just what he was wearing. It doesn't really matter. But somebody called in to report him as being sketchy or suspicious, right? Okay. Now, these officers, when they arrived, there's a different way that could have handled it, right? There's a good way they could have handled it, and then there's a bad way. They chose the bad way. Immediately tried to arrest him. He was unarmed. They used a carotid hold, a technique where pressure is placed on both sides of the neck, and tackled him to the ground. Aurora Fire Department personnel had later injected him with the sedative ketamine, which caused him, of course, to have a heart attack, and was later, he had went to the hospital and was later removed from life support 3 days later. So I want to show you video here from the body cam footage that has been released. It's very difficult to watch, but important to show. Take a look.
Hey, stop right there. Stop. 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 I have a right to stop you because you're being suspicious.
Well, okay.
Turn around.
No,
Turn around.
Actually, your hands are
Turn around.
Stop.
Stop tensing up, dude. Stop tensing up, bro. Stop tensing up.
This isn't gonna go well, dude.
Stop tensing up.
No, I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries that I am speaking.
Relax.
Stop. Relax. Stop. I'm going home.
Relax, or I'm going to have to
Leave
change
me
this
alone.
situation, dude.
You guys. I intend to take my power back, and I intend to be
Come on with him, okay?
censored. I intend to be censored.
Grab your gun, dude.
Stop, dude. Stop. Okay. I'm going to
Okay.
All right, side.
I'm going to straddle him, figure for his legs.
Recovery position. Trust me. Recovery.
I have his legs. I have his legs.
Where's my body?
It's under 18. You got him 18. Still fighting us on the ground.
My name's Elijah McClain.
Yeah,
That's
bro.
all.
I'm ready to use carotid.
That's what I was doing. I was just going home. Why? I'm an introvert and I'm different.
If you keep messing around, I'm gonna bring my dog out. He's gonna dog bite you. You understand me? Keep messing around.
When the ambulance gets here, we're going to go ahead and give him
All
some
the dogs are
ketamine.
okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. He's drawing up ketamine right now.
Okay.
You want to give that before we...
Yeah, so once he gets out here, I'm going to hit him in the right shoulder.
You want some shit?
Everybody's good.
So, context. Okay. So, he wasn't actually committing any crime. He was walking down the street and apparently looked suspicious while doing so. But other than that, no crime. Just walking while black. Now, another investigation into McClain's death, which was not tasked with determining whether criminal wrongdoing had occurred, found in February that officers had used force, and this is important, right? This is why I showed the part where he was basically threatening to sick the dogs on Elijah. Apparently, these officers had used force or the threat of force nearly constantly against McClain in the 18 minutes from the time police first approached him. That's why one of those police officers no longer is a police officer. Now, that was, again, from the first time, that whole 18 minutes, when they first encountered McClain, to when he was placed on a gurney to be transported to the hospital. Now, the officer said, oh, well, no. We're justified in the use of force because he resisted and showed extraordinary strength. Ah, yes. The good old racist trope of excited delirium. They tried, of course, using that excuse on George Floyd as well to justify his death. Thing is, it's not even in the medical journals, not in the DSM manual. That term was actually first used in 1985 by forensic pathologist Charles Wetling to explain the cause of a series of 7 deaths among people who used cocaine, all of whom were forcibly restrained and 5 of whom died in police custody. It's important to note that while 6 of the 7 people in Wetley's initial case were white, a subsequent review of all the cases of deaths from excited delirium between 1969 and 1990 in Dade County, Florida specifically, showed that black men were more than 3 times as likely to have their cause of death labeled as excited delirium than their white counterparts. So they have been using this excuse, oh, he had excited delirium, and that's why he died. It wasn't our fault. Excited delirium from us arresting him. Not our fault. A recent review found that excited delirium was documented in 3% of police interventions and 10% of deaths in police custody. The most extensive review of all the cases of excited delirium to date, published in 2020, found that the syndrome was most often fatal in the presence of aggressive forms of police restraint, including manhandling and hog ties. So, the authors concluded that excited delirium is not a unique cause of death in the absence of restraint. They discounted acute stimulant intoxication as a direct cause of death, given typically sublethal drug levels found on autopsies. So, now in the case of McClain, there wasn't any drugs in his system until they injected him with ketamine. Now the report, and by the way, the report is disastrous when it comes to that. The report found that officers took McClain into custody within seconds of their interaction, failed to assess whether there was reasonable suspicion to believe that a crime had occurred, and continued to use force against McClain after it was justified. It found paramedics who responded didn't immediately provide care to McClain, accepting the officer's suggestion that he was experiencing excited delirium without evaluating him. Paramedics also overestimated McClain's weight before administering the ketamine, affecting the weight-based calculation for dosage, the report found. So let me give you the numbers on that. Dude was 140 pounds. Light guy. They injected him with 500 milligrams of ketamine, which is more than 1.5 times the correct dosage for his weight. Gee, I wonder what contributed to his death. Weird. But this fits a pattern with police. They think that black people are older, stronger, and way more than they actually do. That they're bigger, right? And let me give you an example on that. Police originally believed that Tamir Rice was much older. Tamir Rice was 12. He was a child who was gunned down within like 3 seconds of the cops getting out of their police vehicle. And they thought McClain had to have been bigger and stronger than what he really was. And therefore, of course, oh, dangerous. Oh, the big, strong black guy, dangerous. Dude's like 140 soaking wet. Come on. And that's racism. Understand that's what that is. It's not just wearing a Klan hood. It's mistakenly thinking that black kids are older, or black people are older, stronger, bigger, dangerous, without knowing them. The whole idea of black people being physically stronger and more menacing has always played into white hysteria. And that, of course, is in law enforcement. So, I mean, that's the racist attitudes within policing. It's disgusting. So now this indictment was a long time coming. Now, previously, a local district attorney had said in 2019 that they were going to decline charges. Okay? Citing inconclusive evidence surrounding how he died. Well, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. The massive amount of ketamine in his system and the constant physical attacks against McClain from police. And intimidation, all of that, playing into this. So what's the next step here? Obviously, the next step is a trial. Next step is a trial, and hopefully getting some convictions, and actually maybe getting some justice for Elijah. Not only that, but I would hope that after this case, police would have to stop using ketamine on people. That they can no longer be allowed to do that, because it's not really protecting police to use this drug. They just want to make their job easier. And that's it. And they tend to use it more on black people because of the whole excited delirium. One more note. Weiser's office is also continuing to investigate whether or not the Aurora Police Department has a pattern or practice of violating citizens' civil rights, which I think would probably play into this case, because it seems like from these officers and their actions that they're obviously had, developed a practice or a culture of doing this to the powerless, doing this to black people. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.